Hey guys, I'm learning TFT, back with another video where I'm sharing my research process and how I'm getting better so that you can get better too. In this video, I'm going to VOD review Grea. He just started streaming a few days ago, I believe. He's top 10 challenger right now, and we're gonna VOD review a Varus game because I know I just posted a Varus game not that long ago. Varus is probably being covered a lot in other YouTube channels, but I wanted to just dive in deeper because at the top levels, really getting into the nitty gritty of all the decision making throughout the game. So this VOD reviewing isn't just about like how do you play this comp, how do you automize. It's about all the small things you do in the early game, and that's one thing that Bosso Skills really emphasized to me and Appies in our coaching sessions is how you make those small decisions in the early game severely impacts your ability to play the mid and late game. So we're going to dive into that in a moment. And before we do that, I'm going to jump into some philosophy, psychology that can help us learn better and help all of us become better TFT players. So Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's business partner at Berkshire Hathaway, said, "I believe in the discipline of mastering the best that other people have figured out. I don't believe in just sitting down and trying to dream it all up yourself. Nobody's that smart." This is especially true in TFT because the breadth of the game is so wide that no single player can explore the entire search tree of what is possible in TFT. And so, different regions even are innovating and mastering different comps. For example, the Varus comp that we're talking about right now, I believe originated in Korea, I want to say, or Asia. I think it was Korea. And Europe has been playing a lot of our Varus as well. And so when you try to just invent everything yourself, there is the benefit of trying to reverse engineer the logic behind why somebody did something and not just blindly assuming that something is good just because someone says it yourself. But learning from others does not mean that you are just blindly consuming it, right? You can reverse engineer and kind of fact check, double check that it works for yourself. Same thing applies if you're using AI, like let's say you're using ChatGPT. You don't need to blindly assume that whatever ChatGPT spits out to you is true. You can check it yourself. Isaac Newton said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Robert Wright wrote a book called Non-Zero, said, "Culture is at bottom a way of learning from the learning of others without having to pay the dues they paid." So you can say VOD reviewing is basically a way of learning from others without having to go through all of the mistakes and downsides that they had to experience. And Thomas Edison said, "I regard it as a criminal waste of time to go through the slow and painful ordeal of ascertaining things for oneself if these same things have already been ascertained and made available by others." So all of this is to say VOD reviewing is one of the most powerful tools that you can have in your toolbox if you're really serious about getting better. I believe Frodan had a survey done for something like 100 challenger players asking how much time they spend VOD reviewing on a average day. And I believe the stat was something like an hour a day was the average for how much people VOD reviewed. And I've talked to a few challenger players, and it seems that many challenger players actually spend more time VOD reviewing and looking at stats than they do actually playing the game. And that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, that if you are playing the game, it's unlikely that you will be able to capture as many learnings and breadth and draw conclusions about the game as a whole as if you are looking at stats, you are VOD reviewing games. Also, VOD reviewing games is just more time effective because you can watch VODs on 2x speed. So you can actually get twice as many games in the same amount of time as far as consumption of information. Furthermore, because you don't have to wait for queue times and you can also skip ahead if you want to, it can be just very time effective. So with that said, we're gonna jump into Grea's games. Like I said, he just started streaming, and so I'm very interested in seeing his play style a little bit closer. Grea last set was one of the NA World finalists, and he has been signed by Team Liquid recently as well. So let's go ahead and see how he plays the game. I'm also going to pause the game at certain points, especially in stage 2, to kind of predict what decisions he might make. And this was an exercise that Basso Skills recommended, particularly for stage 2. This is, in general, Basso Skills emphasizes a lot with his coaching clients, making optimal stage 2 decisions. All right, so here I'm gonna basically call out, and I would suggest to you to, if you really want to seriously get better, to also pause the video at certain points, basically right when a round starts, to figure out what units you would buy, what units you would place on the board, what charms you might buy, so that you are getting an idea of how to put into practice all of your learnings. I've talked about this in my previous videos, that the science of learning tells us that if you are passively consuming information, you're just not going to learn that material as well. You can watch all the VODs as you want on YouTube or on Twitch, but it is through the practice of active retrieval, actively thinking, critically thinking about the decisions that you're making, predicting what you should do, and then comparing it to what somebody else did, hopefully someone better than you, to see what the gap is. And then critically thinking about why they made that decision differently than you. Sometimes you might not understand. Sometimes maybe the streamer actually made a mistake. But most of the time it'll probably be because there's some gap in your knowledge set that they understand better than you. So Marcel P, in his Reddit post that was super popular, I think it was like top 5 most popular Reddit post of this year, talked about one of the ways that he got better is just assume that the streamer knows more than you. By taking that beginner's mindset, and we talked about this previously too, when you adopt a beginner's mindset, assume that you don't know anything, you open your mind up to a lot more possibility in your learning process. So here, Ezreal is, both Ezreal and Bard are pretty strong 3-drops. Ezreal particularly because 3 Portal is very strong in the early game. Bard is just actually a reasonably strong AP holder and can scale really well into the late game as well. So here with this 2 extra gold, I would buy the Zoe and probably the Poppy, and yeah, play the Portal units. The reason you'd play the units you want to keep is just in case you get a gold drop and you can make 10, that could be worth selling your bench. And then Poppy pairs really well with Zoe, and I'd probably sell the Ashe for Warwick, just because Vanguards are probably the best frontline in the game right now. If I don't sell the Ashe for the Warwick, I would also consider selling the Bard for Jax, Warwick, and Soraka. One thing that I just covered in my coaching session with Basso is that Ashe is really only worth holding if you have a Rageblade Slam and a Jax too. So you don't really want to hold Ashe unless you have Jaxes and you have like bow rod components. But by default, I would buy the Poppy, sell the Ashe, buy the Warwick. Let's see what Grea does. So Grea is also actively scouting to see what units and components people are holding. So we got a tier. So given that we dropped a tier, I see him hovering over the Soraka. So Soraka with the Bard getting Sugarcraft. I wonder if I'm undervaluing Soraka, but either way I would buy the Poppy, and then I would sell the Ashe and either buy the Warwick or Soraka. Okay, so he actually sold the Bard. Okay. So he values just being able to hit 2-star 1 costs more than holding the Bard. All right, so we got the Zoe pair. I'd put in the Zoe pair with the either the Poppy or the Ezreal, but I don't think there's any way that we sell this Ezreal, so we could just keep it in. And then I would sell the Ashe for Rumble and probably sell this Jax for Lilia. Since if we do play the Poppy, then we would want Bastion with it. Wow, Grea scouts so actively. So one thing that I was talking with Basso about, so much of your ability to play a strong game, and this is an idea that I was talking with my coachee on yesterday, is being able to play uncontested has such big value. Because I was talking to Marcel P about this, who had a coaching session with Asa. And the big idea with playing uncontested is on your stage 4 roll down, and you can look at this on Meta TFT. They actually have a really interesting stat that if you go to your match history, you can see the amount of gold that is required to hit. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, I can't pull it up right now. But the general idea is that on stage 4, let's say on your standard level 8 4-2 roll down, it takes on average about 20 gold for you to hit one copy of your forecast, assuming, I believe, that there are no forecasts gone of your target forecast. So that means there's 10 units in the pool. Now, if I believe it's something like if there are 5 units taken out of the pool, that average gold that it would take to find one copy of your desired forecast goes up to something like double that. So like 40 gold. And if you're 3-way contested, like, and there's 7 copies left out of the pool, and let's say you're 3-way contested, Varus, and the other people in the lobby know that there's 3-way contested, if you're playing at a challenger level, people that are not even playing Varus will be holding Varuses too, because that's the easiest way that they'll make all of the Varuses players go bot 4. So in that case, like, if you're playing contested, you just set yourself up for a really tough game. And that's why so far I think I've only watched, this is the 3rd game that I've watched Grea play, and I actually haven't even watched this game fully yet. But he is super aggressive in stage 1 scouting. So let's watch that again. So I'm gonna actually even slow this down. Okay. So what is he looking for when he's scouting? He's looking for item components and what units they have, what direction essentially that player is going to go toward. So we have a belt here, which is pretty flexible. It doesn't really give you that much direction. Belt, same thing with hunters. All right, sword, rod. So sword can lean towards Varus with IE slam. Rod can actually lean towards just a flexible Karma Warriors board, or it can lean towards Callista if you get a bow. Usually if you're trying to lean towards Callista, bow is one of the most contested components, so they might want to lose streak. But the big signal here is this player has 3 fairy. So bow, like Callista, seems like possible for this player. This person has a rod belt, me Mr. Keen. So he could, Morello slam seems very natural. He does have blasters in place, but Morello slam would likely lead to Karma and Rise. Rod Cloak could lead to Spark. So all the Rod players could also be Callista, angling Callista down the road. And usually, again, it's whoever lose streaks to get carousel priority would be more likely to be able to play Callista. This player actually does have a bow, so they're probably in the lead for the Callista lottery. And in my session with Basso yesterday, Basso was saying that Callista arguably is the best comp in the game right now, even better than Varus, primarily because Varus is so hyper contested, and Callista has, I think, at GM plus a play rate of 1.0, so only one player per game on average playing Callista, though that's probably higher at challenger level, but the most of the stat sites don't allow you to filter by just challenger because the sample size is so small. But Varus is like 2.0, something like that. So Varus, is going to be contested, whereas Callista is generally not contested and has a higher average placement. Although that basically, if Varus was at like a 1.0 play rate, Varus's average placement would probably be maybe better than Callista's. But because Callista is so uncontested, it's actually whoever can go towards Callista has a very strong advantage. So this player could go Callista. And then Deepay also has a bow. Could go towards Callista, or with Glove, he's in a pretty good place, and with a Hunter start to go towards Varus. So lots of possibilities. Right now we have a tier. And so we can go towards a lot of different options. You could slam a Shojin, which could then go towards Varus or Karma. If you get Archangels, you can go towards AP. You could slam a Vow, which could be very flexible and is still very good towards Varus because of Vow being good on Tahm Kench. So we'll speed it up and see where we go from here. So again, my thought process here is that we buy the Rumble and Lilia, sell the Ashe and either the Jax or Soraka. But of course, you want to wait until we get more information from the creep drop, because that could affect your decision. Okay, so he goes ahead and just sells the Soraka for the Rumble. And I'm thinking we still want to buy the Lilia. Oh, interesting. He values the Elise more than the Lilia. And the Jax more than the Lilia. Trying to understand, could the item components influence that? Or, I mean, maybe he just was short on time, but okay. The reason Elise is probably better than Lilia is with this Zoe and Ezreal start, he wants to find a Jace. Jace is the single unit that will make his board a lot stronger. And then with the Jace, you will want a shapeshifter. And so Poppy would, if you had the Jace, it'd be Jace, Zoe, Ezreal with the Elise or with the Poppy. And so you wouldn't have enough units for the Lilia. And then maybe the Jax you just hold because Chrono Emblem is quite strong at 2-1. And so then that's playing towards that out. Okay. And as far as itemization goes, you could slam Guardbreaker, you could slam Redemption or Hodge. None of them are great slams right now with the units that he has and no 2-stars. So he's probably going to lean towards loose streaking unless he hits a Zoe 2. All right. So again, given that his board is kind of weak, leaning towards over-encumbered or Latent Forge makes sense. Mentorship is pretty good if you are trying to win streak. That extra HP and attack speed is surprisingly powerful. I did the stage 2 analysis of trying to predict fights in one of my recent videos, and that was an area where I severely under predicted how strong the units would be with mentorship. Like, that mentorship was the fight diff for I think 2, maybe 3 of the fights in stage 2 that I predicted I would lose, and I won, I think partially because I didn't value mentorship high enough. All right, so placebo is also very good in this meta because if you are trying to play a level 8 comp, which is most comps right now, with the exception of rare rerolls, then that extra gold gives you a head start. All right, so let's go back. Grea is scouting again. Okay, so he's scouting both to see what augments players have picked, how strong they are, what items they might slam, and what direction they might go in. So this player has possibly can go. So he has 3 portal, which would naturally lead towards a like Rise Preserver board, and could slam Spark or Morello if you want to do that. Alternatively, he has like really good Callista components, like with a Rage Blade, Warmog, Stoneplate. If you wanted to lose streak, so that's one player. We have Miami Heart, could slam JG, Spark, QSS, none of which are amazing, particularly with his units. So this player is probably going to lose streak, which if he were to lose streak would lean towards possibly Callista. But he does have the Nunu pair, lots of pairs. I did not see what Rutu had. Okay, it's just a Spark. So again, this player will probably, my guess is this player is leaning towards Callista because the Lilia and the Jax are both on the Callista board, has 3 fairy, only 2 components, so this player will probably try a lose streak and try to get that bow off carousel. Branching out, we did not see what emblem they picked up. Rod, Glove, Cloak. They're holding 2 Syndras, Maki is. So that indicates they're probably going to lean towards AP with a Spark or JG Slam. He goes back to see what the emblem is. It's a Bastion emblem, which Bastion emblem's not very good. He's probably going to reforge it. We have probably a Stoneplate Slam with an open bow, which could be towards Callista. And we have a Twitch 2 with probably an IE Slam for Deepay, which means Deepay is most likely going to go towards Varus. And I've played with Deepay a bunch recently, and he angles Varus a lot. So I have pretty high confidence that he's going to go Varus with this, i.e. open bow. Okay, so he's going through again. We see Mr. Keen reforged to a multi-striker emblem. So he will probably play vertical multi, possibly reroll, though he doesn't really have any of the early units, which means he will probably be playing Callista. Maybe Hecarim reroll, but most likely Callista, which means he's going to want a lose streak here to try to get a bow off carousel as well. So there's 2 people possibly already angling Callista. Risky moves is also very good because it gives you a lot of gold, which lets you get to level 8 faster to hit your desired forecast, and it gives you carousel priority because you just lost sacking the 20 HP up front, which means that Maki is now probably in the lead for playing the desired comp that he wants, so he could play Callista as well. So, and he looked at them. So it's crazy. I've already learned so much from watching Grea. Like, I think Grea scouts more than maybe most other streamers I've come across. And he's assimilating a lot of information together all at once before he even like loads into stage 2. So given all of the information that he just collected, he does know that he's probably not going to streak in the early game. So he's fine playing towards a late game direction. And that indicates either placebo to just get gold and econ or over encumbered. All right, so he takes over encumbered, which means that he's going to need to only have 1 bench slot, and over encumbered, you're basically sacking your stage 2. You don't really want to play over encumbered with comps that require a lot of 1 or 2 costs because you just can't really hold them. He does find the Jason shop, so my guess is he sells his bench 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think you probably even make 10. I mean, he could, so I think the options are either sell bench, buy Jace, level, and put in all your portals so that you can try to Oh, actually, no. Just sell bench and put Jace in for Zoe and buy this charm. But I think there's an argument to be made because you're playing over encumbered where you're just sacking your stage 2 to get item priority on carousel and to be able to get econ. So I think that's what I would do. I would 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would get you to 9. So I would 9 plus 3, 12. So I would sell Ezreal, sell bench, which gets you 12 gold. Buy Jace, put Jace in. You make 10 gold, econ interval, and lean towards a lose streak. Oh, wow. I had not considered that at all. Okay, so the decision that Grea just made indicates to me that he's, at this point, already hard committed to blasters, to Varus. Because he wants to hold Rumble and Ezreal. Wow. So he must have concluded from scouting so aggressively that I believe it would just be DPay that is playing blasters. I think from all of that analysis, it's only DPay that seems to be hard angling towards Varus, and he's saying, okay, if Varus is played two ways, I'm only contested by one other player, I'm going to have an item advantage in over encumbered, and I already have some of these units that's the direction I'm going to play toward. I would not have in a million years, I don't think I would have made that play. I'm so focused on getting 3 portal in the early game. But in this case, he's really playing towards his stage 3. He's playing towards getting solid items in stage 2. Hopefully, he's going to get a sword off of Carousel. He's going to get a bunch of item components at 3-1. And then work towards a Vanguard, hopefully 4 blaster board in stage 3 and stabilize off of the Ezreal, or if he finds a Hui. So it seems like his game plan is sack stage 2 because of his augment, and then preserve HP in stage 3 and spike on stage 4. All right, so he's taking a 4 unit loss, which is 6 player damage, 2 from the stage, 4 from the units. And he actually doesn't mind taking more damage at this point, again, to get carousel priority on swords, especially over DPay, because DPay is also likely angling Varus. All right, I'm going to say this is he kills the Shyvana, so this is a 2 unit loss is my prediction. Oh, he even gets, is he gonna get that? No, okay. So DPay is hard angling Varus, and so we do want to get carousel priority over him. DPay is gonna look off of probably for a bow off carousel to get red buff. So denying a bow is probably important, but getting a sword is probably more important. Okay, so he's scouting again. So let's. All right, hold on. Wow, he scouts so much. All right, the multis. This guy is Spark. He's going AP. He's not contesting Varus. Multi's not contesting Varus. Spark. Good for something. Probably leaning Callista. Morello slammed, probably going to be Karma or Rise. This could be Varus, but no swords and gloves makes it challenging, and they're streaking, so they're not going to get item priority, so it's going to be hard to get the swords and gloves, especially since Grea and Deepay are going to take swords and gloves out of the pool, and Deepay is going Varus. So he is getting confirmation now that most likely he's one-way contested Varus. I think the other thing that I didn't think about is by committing super early, especially at high elo, this might not be as true for lower elo, slamming early and showing the rest of the lobby that you have blasters and you're slamming in a Varus direction discourages the rest of the lobby to try to contest you. And this again applies only to like high elo, because at lower elos people could just be hard forcing. So maybe this is something I'm not doing enough in my games, is angling, basically trying to hard commit earlier, because I think part of the challenge is like hearing Asa's thing on not playing contested is I've been trying to actively scout more, trying to do what Grea's doing here, try to scout the lobby, see what people are already angling towards, which I think a big learning I've already taken away is on stage 1, looking at the components to see which direction, and then right at the start of stage 2, like committing hard in that direction and showing the rest of the lobby, like if this is poker, it's like, all right, I'm going for the flush draw, like don't fuck with me. And then in a high elo lobby, like they're far less likely to contest. Okay, it's a good learning. All right, so he sold his Warwick, making 20. Again, wants to sack HP. He actually would like to lose by more so that he can get carousel priority over Mean Mr. Keen, but Keen also lost a lot. So here we have glove tier belt, so he wants a sword for sure. Or a bow to deny bows from the other players, but ideally a sword. Sword also gets you rumble, but in this case, I would probably consider it's either the sword rumble or bow Ezreal. And given that we are not trying to win streak right now, and we are going to get 3 extra components from over encumbered plus components from the creep round, I would probably take the bow Ezreal, because then if you high roll another Ezreal, it gives you a really strong stage 3, and you want to deny bow from like Deepay and the Kalista players, and you eventually want red buff as well. So I think I would take Ezreal bow, but someone's probably gonna take it. Yeah, okay, so this is where both of his top picks have been taken, and why this 2 HP diff here was huge. And this is a situation where, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but if he had actually sacked more in stage 2 and made 10 gold like I would have done in 2-1, he probably would have lost more HP, and then maybe would have actually been lower in HP than Mean Mr. Keen and had access to a more ideal item component. But at the same time, that would put him in a position that he's not going to be as strong in stage 3 because he wouldn't have the Rumble and Ezreal. So that's the trade-off. Given that sword and bow are gone at this point, you probably take glove is my guess. And if not glove, because with Varus you want like double IE in an ideal case. If not glove, he has a belt, so then maybe a cloak to make even shroud. But glove's the priority. Okay. So skip ahead, scouting even more. And at this point you just sack the rest of stage 2. Also interested just the frequency and when he's scouting, like 2. Okay, so he's scouting at 2-3, probably before carousel, to figure out what everybody wants, which can help him figure out what's the optimal play both for himself and to deny his opponents, which is something I just really don't do enough. And right after carousel on 2-5. So he's scouting, it seems like, man, he's scouting like every round. And maybe part of this is just because he's lost streaking. Well, so at least in this case, he's like trying to full sack. Me, Mr. Keen has I think the crystal ball or whatever that lets you know which opponent you're facing. So he said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not facing you." But I wonder if Grea scouts so much when he's not loose streaking, because this is just insane. I really don't think I've seen anyone scout so much as Grea. Is he afraid he's gonna lose here? Oh wow, another Ezreal. Okay, so he's not picking up orbs because if it is like more units, over encumbered would make it so that you can't keep them. It would auto sell. But he did pick up one of the orbs because he wanted to make econ interval. All right, so whoa, that's a lot of tiers. But he does have Reforger and a sword, so that's actually a really good drop. So I think you just reforge one tier probably. Buy charm. You don't mind continuing to lose. Strongest board would be Kassadin over Jax. And like Nunu over Lilia. I'd probably play strongest board. I mean, I'd scout, but it seems like at this point, I mean, you get additional 3 gold for losing, so you don't actually mind losing. So killing units is probably more important. So maybe just double Ezreal. So Ezreal over Jax. Just kill units. Scouting even more. Okay, slamming IE. You can reforge here. Yeah. Alright, the Rod belt could make... I mean, the belt probably just becomes redemption at this point. And then Rod can be Rod tier on Bard and then eventually on Xerath. Alright, so here Stand United is actually quite good on the Varus board because you're playing a lot of traits and usually you're using your Arcana Signifier on, I think that's what it's called, right? On Tom Kench. So you have a lot of traits active. Sleight of Hand can be possibly good because you already have 2 gloves on your bench. The thing there is you only have 1 IE slammed and you would ideally want to use the gloves for another IE, but if you get a sword, you have so many tiers that you need to kill tiers. So if you have a sword, you probably slam Shojin next, in which case using the gloves for Sleight of Hand probably makes sense to preserve HP, tempo. You lack tank items right now. You just have that 1 belt, which you could make like, yeah, I think your front line is lacking, so maybe you just go Sleight of Hand for 2 TGs on your front line and kind of call it a day, and then that way you could just focus on your back line. Okay. All right, so given that it's stage 3 now, I'm not gonna pause at every point. So he's on a 6 loss. He still doesn't fully mind losing. Alright, so he slams TGs on bench, sees what they are to figure out who they can optimally be placed on, and then slams Morello. I've seen him slam Morello a good amount, and put Morello on Varus. I want to see how good or bad that is compared to... Alright, so red buff on Varus is 3.8. Morello on Varus is... Oh no, I didn't even see it on there. Let's see. Alright, 4.3 red buff, Morello 4.8. So yeah, definitely not as good. But Morello can just go on like Bard or Xerath later. All right, so he wants sword, glove. Yeah, sword for sure. Gives him Shojin. Kills those tiers. And Rakan is solid because you want to play Bard eventually. Oh, wow, he luck boxed that charm. So now he's leveling to try to streak. Okay, so now he's in a pretty good spot. He's level 7, 3 streak, 40 gold with 2 free rerolls. Deepay, we haven't checked in on Deepay for a little bit. You can get 3 portal in with the Taric. A 4 portal. And if he wins here, then he can make 50. Deepay got Blaster Emblem. And at level 7 with 50 gold as well. So they're both going to do a pretty aggressive roll down pretty soon to see who hits their Varuses. He does the item remover here, which maybe signals that he might want to roll down on 4-1. Is he actually going to do that? I don't think so, right? Okay. Yeah, Crown Guard kills a Rod. You don't really want Rod items other than like Morello in this comp. Oh, Maki's got Frost Emblem, so he's also contesting Varus. So now Varus is 3-way contested. Here, Support Golem is just the best overall generic prismatic augment, but we already have Sleight of Hand and 2 TG slams, so Lucky Glove seems like the very obvious choice. He's probably checking stats right now. All right, so he's doing the roll down, hits a Varus, gets 4 Blaster in. He skips the assembly just because it's probably too much APM to handle. Although it probably would have been positive EV to do it. Slams the TG right now for Varus. He can always item remove that later. Makes 40. I'm surprised he didn't do a more aggressive roll down. I guess what he's thinking is it's 3-way contested. Somebody, who was it? Maki already had at least 1 Varus. My guess is Deepay probably did a reasonably aggressive roll down. And so this is where what we were discussing earlier, right? Like with no Varuses out of the pool, it's probably around 20 gold to find 1 copy, which even if you roll down your 40 gold right now, you find your second copy, like that increases to, let's say, 25 gold to find your next Varus. And there's probably already like maybe 3 Varuses out of the pool at least. So the EV on you rolling down here, your odds are you're not going to find a Varus 2 off of 40 gold. Plus you need to actually buy the units, and you're also looking for like your Tom Kench. I guess your Tom Kench would make your board a good amount stronger. But you do have a Shen 2, a Rumble 2 on board. You have an Ezreal 2. So your board is like reasonably stable, particularly since you have 3 TGs, Sleight of Hand, Lucky Gloves. So that's probably why he's thinking, I don't need to roll down right now. This is also a very different decision than I would have made, because my thought process would have been, oh shit, I'm 3-way contested. I need to roll down all my gold before my opponents do. And I probably wouldn't be thinking, I'm probably stable here. And then on top of that, we're on a 6, we were on a 5 streak. So I would have been thinking, I'm on a 5 streak. I want to preserve streak. I want to hit my Varuses before my opponents. I should roll down and hope that I hit. But the odds on that, on hitting a Varus 2 off 40 gold with at least probably 3 Varuses out of the pool is probably pretty low. And man, this is such a hard decision. Okay, let's see how it plays out. Oh, he naturals another Varus. Okay, now are you rolling down? Really? I've seen him put Crown Guard on TK a lot, probably just to like help him survive long enough to get to his first cast, because a TK1 could just die before he casts one shot. Oh wow, even Keen was playing a... Wait, was that Varus? No, that was a Callista. Okay. Alright, so here he has open glove, which could just be another TG, which would be very strong. Ideally, he could get a 3-item Varus though, so Shojin IE would be probably best. So off carousel, I'd be prioritizing sword or glove. Probably sword, just because you still want a fully itemized Varus. And it's on a 5 cost, so that'd be really strong. Oh, he's going for the glove. Wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, TG, I guess, is just so much value. Wow, he naturaled a Varus too. All right, this is just a high roll game. I was like, okay, we should watch this to see. Huh? Wait. Hold on, what just happened? Oh, I forgot you could do this. Okay, so he item removed off Ezreal. If he makes the Varus right now, he would have to get the ideal items onto Varus. If he just straight up made the Varus, he would have to item remove the Varus, sell the Ezreal, find another blaster. But instead, what you could do is item remove the Ezreal, put your like item list Varus from bench on board, put the items on, and then build the Varus, and it'll prioritize keeping the items instead of the TG on the Varus. Yeah, I would not have had the wherewithal to do that in that moment. Okay, good to know. If you have TG and you're making a 2-star, put the one without items in on the board, and then put items on them, then build the 2-star. Note to self. All right. That Hecarim 3 looked pretty scary, and he has no shred, no armor sunder, that is. So we need to prioritize finding a belt for that cloak on bench. And at this point, he's looking to push level 9. Wow, that was probably a trait tracker, I assume. He had so many emblems. And he did find the Smolder with TG, which also very good. Gives you HP attack speed. And he's going 9 to put in 6 blaster. I wonder if he finds a Xerath, whether he plays Ori and Xerath over Hui and Tristana. Is 6 blaster better, or is 4 Arcana? Let me look at the data. 4 Arcana averages a 4.0. 6 blaster averages a 3.8. Okay, so 6 blaster stronger. Wow, he took down that Hecarim, no problem. Doesn't even have armor sunder. Gold collector. Looks like at this point though, it's... Oh wow, it's a radiant stone plate. He definitely, I feel like he definitely needs Sunder to get through this, right? Yeah. It's just too much resistance. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is a no Sunder fight diff. Oh, he would love that even shroud. Nope. All right, now what? Tank item, stone plate, BT. Huh. I would have for sure taken stone plate over BT. I wonder if he's thinking about moving that BT. No, I really don't. That perplexes me. I guess he's thinking the extra shield will just help TK stay alive longer. Though Vanguards have extra shields, and so I just would have assumed that you want more resistances. 6 Chrono, 4 Arcana. Spin to win. These are some pretty strong boards. But yeah, he definitely needs to get some type of... Oh, he's... Oh, he must be happy that the Wukong 3 got... With the Radiant Stoneplate got knocked out. This is a far better matchup. But he did lose last round. I don't know if it's necessarily a better matchup. Both are really strong opponents. All right, so game plan here. By Charm. Is he trying to push 9 to try to get Arcana in? He's still on TK1. Yeah, just get Arcana in. Stay with 6 Blaster. Still no Armor Sunder. All right, red buff. Get Xerath casting earlier. And we're down to our last life. Oh, and he hits the Smolder. Can't buy Charm. See, item remove anything? No. Alright. It's going to come down to positioning. So we'll see what the TKs hit. That will have a big impact on the outcome of this fight. Oh, wow. So the Smolder DPS made a huge difference in that fight because he killed off a lot of the Chrono units before the time freeze. All right, so that's Grea game. I want to kind of call out what stood out to me in this game. One is how aggressively he was scouting in stage 1. I think he was scouting like every round in stage 1, which then allowed him at 2-1 at the augment selection, having a much better idea of possible directions that everybody was going to go in, and then actively deciding on 2-1 to play towards blasters, to keeping that Ezreal and that Rumble, because he knew at that point that it was primarily Deepay that was going to angle Varus. It wasn't until later that the other player, I think with the Frost emblem, was also angling Varus. And then actively scouting in stage 2 with the lose streak, hitting the fortunate Ezreal 2, which stabilized his stage 3, and then he naturaled that Varus 2. So this is for sure a high roll game, but I think it was a very nuanced decision at 4-2 to not roll down his 40 gold. That was surprising to me, because it was a 3-way contest. He was on streak. But I think what I underestimate is the value of the sleight of hand plus the lucky gloves. So if you know that you were stable on stage 4, because his front line was strong and he had the Ezreal too, that he could afford to wait, because even if he rolled down, odds are he wasn't going to hit that Varus 2. So that allowed him to get a little bit more gold to prepare for his eventual roll down, which also gives you the opportunity to high roll like he did. Because if you I think the odds that he hit that Varus 2 just naturally was so low. But in the case that you do hit that, it really gives you the opportunity to cap out like he did in this game. So yeah, it was a lot of learnings. I definitely will be watching Grea more. I'll provide a link to his stream in the description below if you're interested in watching his VODs. And yeah, that's it for me. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.